Maybe you have wounds that won't heal. Maybe they've been there for forever and you just can't find a solution. Maybe you've been treated with antibiotics multiple times for infections of the gut, like H. pylori or C. difficile, and yet they just keep on coming back. Doctors just scratch their heads and just say, can't figure it out. And you're stuck in the middle. You're just suffering with this problem and you don't know what to do yourself. You're just absolutely frustrated with it. Here in the United States, it's estimated that each year over 35,000 people die from C. difficile infections, Clostridia difficile infections, and 1 million people contract these devastating infections that cause suffering and misery to just millions of people around the world. So this is not something to play around with. It's a very serious condition, and there's something you can do about it naturally without having to worry about the consequences of this devastating disease. But let me just share with you that these conditions are very common. Millions of people are suffering with them, and unbeknownst to their doctor, they don't know what to do about it. They just keep on throwing antibiotics and infection. After infection, the number one cause of these chronic conditions, they're called biofilms. Bacteria communities inside of this biofilm, inside of this bubble that's surrounded by this mucus layer. And our gut is a place where biofilms will form. Biofilms that begin to proliferate, they're hard to penetrate, and they're even make them antibiotic resistant. So when you have people who have repeated infections and the doctor is trying to treat those things with antibiotics, but they're not working, it's because these bacteria, these communities inside of this biofilm, inside of this bubble that's surrounded by this mucus layer, the antibiotics oftentimes cannot take care of them and get rid of them. As a matter of fact, the antibiotics will cause them to become stronger. Biofilm could have yeast and viruses and bacteria as well as protozoa, and they could all live together. And there are different species, but they communicate with each other. It's a very sophisticated system that they have to talk with each other to find ways to resist these medications. But again, if we work with the natural systems of the body and work with what's been used for thousands of years, we can disrupt those microorganisms in that biofilm, and we can then start to help the body to heal itself. Herbs like rosemary or peppermint oil, these things are food grade and they disrupt the biofilm and they actually feed the good bacteria at the same time. So rosemary extract and peppermint oil and turmeric and garlic and apple cider vinegar. Don't forget about apple cider vinegar, like Bragg's, which got the raw apple cider vinegar. That is a very acidic and gets rid of the harmful bacteria and really does a nice job to feed the good bacteria. So you want to feed the good bacteria because they fight the bad bacteria too. They work with the body to heal itself. That's what you want to do. You want to work in concert. And by the way, all these things are shown in research. And research is validating that all these things work to break up these biofilms. That's the beautiful thing about these things is the research is there, and there's hundreds and hundreds of studies to prove it. And if you take those things on a regular basis, it'll break down the matrix, the mucus layers of that biofilm so that you can expose those microorganisms. So then you can come in with antimicrobial agents like herbs to kill them off. Some of the biodisruptors that break up that matrix, that mucus, those layers, also will kill the bacteria. So it's a twofer. You get 2 for 1, like oregano oil. It's a biodisruptor. It breaks up that matrix, but it also kills the harmful microorganisms. So golden seal and berberine. Berberine is a compound. It's a natural compound that's inside of herbs like Oregon grape and other herbs that have this compound called berberin. It's a yellow compound. It's a very powerful biofilm disruptor. You can get it in capsules, and that's what I give to my patients to take. So you could take that along with oregano, and it'll be a powerful biofilm disruptor, as well as it'll help the absorption of the oregano oil, and it'll kill off that bacteria. So you could use pomegranate and powder or capsules, and you could take that every day along with the cranberry, and you could drink green tea. Green tea has compounds in it that help to break down the mucus, the biofilm disruptor. So the layers of mucus, it breaks it down in a very, very powerful way. Let me share a story about a testimony. Another one of my patients. I've had many patients with C. difficile, which is a very dangerous bacteria that lives inside the gut. It's called C. difficile. And this C. difficile, many people will have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different times. This will keep on coming back again, over and over again. It keeps on coming back. I had this elderly woman, and her daughter heard me on the radio, and she ended up coming into my practice, and her mother had these repeated C. difficile infections, and they were treated with antibiotics over and over again. And she was suffering with these things, and she had fatigue, and she had skin disorders, and she had brain fog, and she had, disruption of her sleep. And, she just had so many problems. She had digestive disturbances. She was suffering over and over again for years. And she had a biofilm inside of her gut that we were able to disrupt with the natural things we're talking about here tonight. And within, I believe it was 3 months, it didn't take long, her mom's repeated infections stopped. And I saw her about a year later in a health food store, and she had absolutely no more problems. And I've seen her daughter since then. She said her mom's absolutely fine. She never had any more problems. She had 5 or 6 or 7 different repeated infections. And by the way, that was an elderly woman. But I want to tell you, it happens in the young too. I had a teenager. It was about, I think he was around 17 or 18 years old. And he had the C. difficile infection about 4 or 5 times. They kept on treating with antibiotics, kept on coming back. Once again, we treated him with this natural protocol that I'm talking with you right now about. We personalized his diet. We did a blood test to figure out which foods were right for his body. And we got rid of the foods that were feeding the biofilm, the microorganisms. And we gave him biofilm disruptors. And we supported his immune system, because people who have these repeated infections have compromised immune systems. And then we were able to stop the repeated infections because we got rid of the biofilm. So it happens with young, and it happens with middle-aged people, it happens with older people. Age is not a respecter. These biofilmed microorganisms are not a respecter of age. It can happen in young and old. Once again, you cooperate with the body, and the body will work to heal itself.